Dragons of the Singularity, Part 1, Embers of the Past. Prologue, Beneath the Ice. The drill had been running for 72 hours without pause, biting into ice that had not seen sunlight for more than 12 million years. The borehole cut deep into the Greenland shelf, a yawning scar carved by human persistence and desperation for resources. Climate collapse and runaway industry had stripped the planet's easy wealth. Now the corporations drilled through ancient ice, searching for buried minerals, rare isotopes, or anything else to feed the endless appetite of progress. The work crew was exhausted, their command tent glowing dimly in the twilight haze of a sun that never truly set in the Arctic summer, buzzed with recycled air and the stale stench of overworked men and women. At the console, Jiro Tanaka rubbed his eyes raw and watched the seismic charts flicker. Something about the readings didn't match the geological models. A cavity massive in scale extended beneath the ice. It wasn't the smooth-walled emptiness of a volcanic vent or the ragged chamber of collapsed rock. This was structured.
Depth? He murmured.
The technician at his side tapped at the console. 912 meters, still stable, but the sensors are bouncing back weird harmonics.
Jiro frowned. Like metal?
No, not exactly. The tech hesitated. Like bone.
The drill hit something solid. The vibration rippled up the rig with a grinding shudder, loud enough to rattle mugs from shelves and snap two hydraulic arms like brittle twigs. The emergency sirens wailed, crimson lights strobing across frost-slick steel. Operators scrambled to shut down the system before the bit shattered into useless shrapnel. The drilling rig fell still, groaning as if it too felt the strain of what it had touched.
Bring up the core, Jiro ordered. His voice carried an edge of awe.
Minutes later, a cylinder of ice nearly 4 meters long was winched up from the borehole, steam hissing as its supercooled surface met the damp air. Floodlights cut through the mist, and the crew gathered, murmuring. Inside the translucent block lay something dark, ridged and impossibly vast. It was not rock. The shape curved gently, its surface ridged with striations that spoke of growth, not mineral fracture. Jiro's breath fogged the glass as he leaned closer. The object trapped inside was the size of a man's torso, but it was only a fragment.
God, whispered one of the younger techs. It's a rib.
The crew muttered uneasily, crossing themselves, murmuring prayers or whispering superstitions. The Arctic had a way of bringing out old beliefs, reminding people that beneath their technology, they were still frail creatures walking atop the unknown.
Catalogue it, Jiro said, though his voice trembled. We'll send it to Copenhagen for analysis.
But the discovery did not end with a single rib. The deeper they drilled, the more the ice revealed. Vertebrae the size of boulders. A jaw fragment lined with teeth longer than a grown man's hand. Curved talons sharper than industrial blades. Each core revealed more of the buried titan preserved in the deep freeze of millennia. By the second week, they had uncovered a cavernous vault of ice. The creature, if it could be called that, was nearly 100 meters long from snout to tail. Its wings, folded and compressed by the glacier's weight, spanned wider than any aircraft humanity had ever built. It was no dinosaur, no known species of reptile or mammal matched it. It was something out of story and nightmare. The word passed among the crew in whispers, though none dared speak it too loudly. Dragon. The corporation tried to suppress the discovery, of course. The first reports were redacted, files encrypted, transmission logs scrubbed. They claimed it was a genetic aberration, a mistake of ancient evolution, a freak specimen preserved in ice. But secrecy is fragile in the age of instant data. A single leaked image of a skull crowned with horns like blackened ivory spread across the net in less than 12 hours. By the time officials in Copenhagen tried to dismiss it as a hoax, half the world had already seen it. Religious groups called it a sign of the end times. Conspiracy theorists claimed the governments had known all along. Historians unearthed medieval manuscripts and sagas insisting humanity had once lived in fear of these very creatures. And scientists Well, scientists argued. Some dismissed it as an elaborate fraud. Others, daring to entertain the evidence, argued it was proof of a missing chapter in Earth's prehistory, a lost megafauna on par with the great sauropods. But a few, the boldest, the most ridiculed, suggested something else. The bones were too perfect, too deliberate. The cellular structure was laced with something crystalline, something engineered. This was no natural beast. This was design. On the 41st night of the dig, when the auroras danced in curtains of emerald and violet across the Arctic sky, the first anomaly occurred. Inside the ice vault, the excavators had installed flood lamps and monitoring drones. The great skeleton lay entombed, its hollow socket staring upward as though frozen mid-roar. At 02:16 local time, the temperature inside the vault rose by 3 degrees without explanation. Instruments spiked, recording faint bursts of radiation. The crystalline lattice within the bones glowed faintly, pulsing like embers beneath ash. A worker, making his rounds, swore he heard something, a deep, resonant thrum, low enough to feel in the chest rather than the ears. It reminded him of a heartbeat. No one believed him, at least not until the ice began to crack. By dawn, the vault walls echoed with the groan of shifting glaciers. Sheets of ice fractured and fell, exposing more of the massive form. From the air, drone footage showed veins of faint blue light spreading across the skeleton, like lightning frozen in glass. It was waking, and far above the Arctic Circle, beyond the veil of auroras, satellites orbiting Earth registered something strange, a faint signal, narrow band pulsing from the excavation site. The signal was not random. It was a pattern, a call.